Benjamin Franklin said, "Dost thou love life? Then do not squander time, for that is the stuff life is made of." Time is the most valuable thing that a man can spend. This man has time. Time to think, to plan, to meditate. How did he get it? The answers lie in the sounds and motions around him. In the river's current, the wind, the ponderous journey of a tanker, the tick of a wristwatch. In each of the awesome and endless movements of Earth, there is a promise. The same force that fires the sun feeds the tree, stirs the water, and moves the seas to sing. Below us, above us, all around us, our world is an ocean of energy. The energy of heat and light, and of the forces that produce them. Since the beginning of civilization, we've struggled to harness the energy that everywhere surrounds us. And the thing we call progress is largely the story of our journey toward realizing energy's promise and its potential. Energy is a timeless force, a force that frees power, however small. It releases potential light or heat. It is the capacity to make things stop or start, to create movement. Man is an energy machine who uses food and drink as his fuel and releases in every motion the power they generate. But when we depend on the power of muscle alone, our progress is painfully slow and discouraging. Human progress has always been uneven. This boy has never worn shoes, never seen a motion picture. He cannot read, and even if he could, he has no time. There are millions like him in the world, gathering wood for survival. His mind and body limited to the distance he can push a simple wheel. Just a century ago, we in this country weren't very different. Most of the energy we used was drained from the muscle of men and animals.
Going here. Chap!
Life was harsh. Work was endless. Pleasures were few. When progress means just to finish one day's labor in time for the next, opportunity is an alien word, and horizons narrow. But we were moving toward a new vision, the vision of a better life. We used strips of steel and machines of steam to tie together our continent, to bind and to unify a nation. coal and steam did span the continent, they couldn't subdue it. They weren't much good at pulling a wagon or plowing a field. Muscle power, raw and rigid, is still the tyrant until some other force, cheaper and more versatile, overthrows it. For us, the liberator from simple animal strength was petroleum. We found it hidden in the Pennsylvania hills and pounded through solid rock to get it. Our tools were primitive. The beginning was modest.
Get her out there. Get her out there. Try it out. Go on, get her out.
When we first pumped oil to the surface, we used it not for power or for heat, but for light. A new industry was born to give light, and then nearly flickered out because something better came along. But lots of better things were coming along.
Anybody who wants to ride on an explosion must be a danged fool. You'll never get anybody to ride on it.
By 1905, there were 77,000 dang fools on the road. In Kansas City, there were 2 automobiles, and they ran into each other. But the automobile was becoming a necessity, and that was only a reflection of things to come. Suddenly, driven by a new energy source, we found ourselves in a new world, a world in which the burden of drudgery has grown lighter with every passing year. Today, at the heart of nearly every endeavor is energy in abundance. We now use 200 times more machine power than we did a century ago, and our life is infinitely better because of it. Where does all our power come from? One way to get it is to capture the potential energy of falling water. We force it to drive giant turbines for electricity. Silent sentinels carrying hydroelectricity to distant places. Water power, furnishing 4% of our total energy needs. Coal, too, plays an important role. unleashing the energy to make electricity and to feed the hunger of industrial furnaces. One bite capable of carrying 100 tons, more than a man can dig in 4 days. A mechanical giant, obeying the will of a single man. While under the earth, other machines tear out more of the black rock to supply 1/5 of all the energy we use. Coal and water power are important, but by far the biggest job of providing our energy belongs to petroleum. To find oil and gas is a detective story on the grandest of scales. The search often begins with this man.
My job is to fly. The magnetometer in the tail does the real work. It measures magnetic differences in rock formations under the ground. Some of those formations might have oil. We cover a lot of ground in a year. In fact, I've searched in more countries than I'd care to count.
More clues come from these men. They make miniature earthquakes. The shock waves from their explosions bounce off deep rock formations and travel back to be recorded and analyzed. Every acre, every mile of potential oil land is probed. Finally, you've got an idea of what it looks like down there. But you can never be sure. Only the drill can find oil. So you just cross your fingers and go. To drill a single well, hundreds of tons of structural steel and machinery, diesel engines, cement mixers, coolers, compressors, and men to put them together and make them work. And when you're drilling, miles of pipe and casing, tons of cement, thousands of barrels of diesel oil to run the rig, and maybe dozens of drill bits to bite deep into the earth. When one wears out, and it can wear out fast, every foot of pipe has to be pulled and stacked and then put back again. It all takes time, a lot of it. Week after week, day and night, rain or cold, until finally you hit the place where everything says the oil should be. The maps, the seismographs, the magnetometer, the rocks, and you find nothing. A dry hole, and there are many of them. 5 miles of grinding rock, nearly 6 months of sweat, and nothing. So you look somewhere else, even under the ocean. way to beat the odds, to find the hundreds of millions of gallons we need every day, is to keep looking and drilling. Hundreds of millions of gallons every 24 hours to feed the refineries spread across the nation. Cities of pipes and towers where crude oil is broken down into gasoline, kerosene, oil to generate electricity, heating oil, jet fuel. Petroleum, oil, and natural gas, supplying 3/4 of all the energy we use. Ready to move to far-flung markets. The journey spans many miles through pipelines seldom seen except in construction. Arteries that pulse with energy hour by hour. Towboats push strings of barges longer than ocean liners. Modern-day Mark Twains guide them through narrow locks with only inches to spare. Energy that heats our homes, cooks our food, energy that quickens the heartbeat of our economy. Pouring forth in thousands of ways, in thousands of places, day and night. Giving new meaning to the old observation that energy is eternal delight. The evidence is there in everything we see and everything we do. We use more energy than any other country in the world. And that's one reason we've gone so far. Remember the old saying that time is money? That was when muscle did the work, and work left time for little else. Today, time is also leisure, something to enjoy, something to enrich our lives. The leisure that abundant energy has given us is a thing of all seasons, all places, all times, all ages. But it means much more than just having fun. Our children are no longer forced to work before they're old enough to think. They have wider horizons. And the world of knowledge reaches out to them wherever they are. They grow up with opportunities that no children before them have ever had. They have time to live. More energy has given us more time to study, to learn, to contribute. And this, in turn, enables us to speed our progress even more. Of all the scientists and engineers who ever lived, 9 out of 10 are living today. We have been freed by abundant energy to work toward an even more promising future, to use our expanding knowledge to draw new energy from the atom. The tides with their endless surge of power. The sun itself. And from petroleum, which will carry us far into that promising future. For we live in an ocean of energy, above us, below us, all around us. And as we harness its forces, we free ourselves. We have the time to meditate, the time for invention. Ours is the freedom to chart new courses for ourselves and for a world whose needs are more urgent than our own and whose journey has only begun.